Turbo and 2K show.
What is up, 2K crew? Yes, it is that time of the week again, and I hope everyone had a fantastic Friday, Father's Day weekend. It is good to be back in the helm here. I am rolling solo tonight. Unfortunately, 2Ks did have a prior engagement, and Christian was umpiring all weekend. So big shout out to those boys. Hope everyone has a safe trip back. But that does not mean the party cannot stay started here, ladies and gentlemen. As I was talking to our TikTok crew over here, we are live on our Facebook, on our YouTube, on our Twitter, on our Instagram. If we got it, we are live. Yes, this is awesome. Awesome. And I've got a great show planned for everybody. So I did want to get this party started with a little bit of personal news here. Did have a hospital visit on Tuesday. I did throw my back out, and yes, I would not want to wish that pain on anyone at all. That was probably the most excruciating pain I have ever felt in my life. So thankfully, fingers crossed, we got all that out of the way. I do have a follow-up appointment on tomorrow. So hopefully we get everything taken care of there, because it would be nice to get back to playing golf, playing softball, and just being a normal fucking person. So with that being said, later that night we took the wife to the hospital because she stepped on a big ass piece of glass. So yeah, last Tuesday we spent pretty much the whole day in the ER. So it was not fun. That was not fun at all. But yeah, I did want to take a quick time out to say that, but that's not what you're here for. You're here for the sports content. And yes, we do have a lot of it lined up here today. If you are on any of our platforms, go ahead and give us a like. If you're over on our YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit that like button, hit the bell notification so you get notified every time we go live. If you're over on Facebook, thank you very much. Thank you so much. There's about a handful of you over there. And we're trying the Instagram thing tonight again because the Instagram has been loving the reels that I've been putting up. So I figured, why the hell not? Why the hell not? Let's get that party started over there as well. But yeah, our Facebook crew is always on top of it. And if you're to get the best experience, I would say our YouTube is probably the best experience. We've got overlays. We're going to go over some tweets tonight, so it's going to be just an awesome time. So let's start off with some news here, ladies and gentlemen. If you are interested in the hats here, there's a link in the YouTube description. This is there, or in our Etsy shop. Just go ahead and search Turbo and 2Ks in the Etsy store if you really want one. I think we're making like $2 or $3 off each one of these. I just really like them, so I figured, why the hell not? I'm probably not the only one that likes them, but for those of you that did not know, today is National Hydration Day. This is sponsored by Garage Beer. And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't had a Garage Beer, it's a very small brewery. The beer is fantastic. It is not overly complicated. It is their slogan is beer that tastes like beer. And they have a light beer and they have a lime flavored one. Both of them are just fantastic. And maybe it's just me, maybe I'm kind of bougie, but the packaging is far superior to any of the larger breweries. The cans have this nice matte feel to it, as well as the box itself. So go over and get you some Garage Beer. It is absolutely awesome. Go on garagebeer.com and see where you can get it. And if you're in Michigan, ladies and gentlemen, you can go right to Myers. You can go right to Myers and get it. Right to Myers and get it. And there really is no good transition into this next little piece here, but this was a tweet from Barstool Sports. Totally normal story of an ex-Milwaukee Brewers employee who doubled as an assassin and botched a murder for hire in Europe, but is still on the run. This has nothing to do with sports, but I figured this is completely asinine and off the wall. So I figured, why the hell not throw this in the rundown here? Because how else are you going to kind of bring this in? I mean, this is just asinine. This is just weird. So I figured, why the hell not? Why the hell not? And judging by the side here, we are going to talk about some Willie Mays news. We're going to talk about how good this man actually was, and we're going to kind of transition into some MLB injuries that have occurred lately. Kind of tie that back into the last show when we talked about possibly some of the trade deadline suitors that some of these big names might garner, and I think a lot of these recent injuries are going to kind of might play into that. So we're going to get into that. And before we do that, I do want to introduce you to my friend right here. For those of you that are OGs, this is Lil Boozy. He was at my last job, we did a white elephant exchange. Here, I'll show the TikTok crew here. This is Little Boozy, and he was part of a white elephant gift exchange, and the person who got him thought that he sucked, and I was like, I absolutely need him for the show. So I stole him, and lo and behold, no one bothered to steal him back. So Little Boozy has become part of the show, and it's been a while since he's been on the desk, so I figured I would bring him in and make him more of a regular addition to the show. So let's continue on with the news here. There was a couple announcements, and I personally didn't even know there was a Michigan Sports Hall of Fame, but there are some folks that are going in, rightfully so. So let's take a peek at who is on that list. This is Braylon Edwards. Braylon Edwards, the Michigan wide receiver, going in, as well as Pudge, Von Rodriguez. These are all from Brad Galley from the I can't remember which outlet he works for, but it says Ivan Pudge Rodriguez can add the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame to his resume. The former Tigers catcher has been selected to the Michigan's newest class. The ceremony October 17th at the Motor City Casino Hotel. Adding to that list of honorees is Cecil Fielder. I know for one, he was kind of the big bopper, the big bat that kind of got me hooked into baseball. He was that larger than life guy, and on top of that was was playing in Michigan. And then if we look even farther and go even further into depth, his son Prince even played for the Tigers for a little bit. Had that really weird neck injury, so that was kind of a career shortening injury, let's say. But rightfully so. I mean, if you guys and gals remember, what's up, Hello Kitty? Thank you for the hearts there over on TikTok. So thank you for that. But yeah, he was the one that was hitting balls out of Old Tiger Stadium. So that was, especially when you're a little kid, that is always just a feat that, is just awesome. So rightfully so that he goes in. And I do have one more here. Jim Harbaugh, of course. Jim Harbaugh has been, this is from the same gentleman. Jim Harbaugh has been elected to the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame in the coach category. During his time leading Michigan football, Harbaugh guided U of M to a 86-25 record with 3 consecutive Big Ten championships and the 2023 College Football National Championship. Now, remember, Michigan fans, you guys and gals were the ones that were wanting him run out of town prior to this. So, I mean, it is wild how, especially in this day and age, where if a coach is not performing right away, we want change. Get that bum out of here. Get him the hell out of here. Get someone in that can right the ship. And the University of Michigan kind of had it right on this one. Kind of had it right to where, yeah, this was the move. This was the guy. This is the person that we really need. Righting this ship, and righting the ship he did. And I'm sure the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame, I guarantee that is the driving force behind Mr. Harbaugh's success. So, but I am sure that he will gladly walk into that hall, and I'm not sure if they have a gold jacket or what their sort of. I know in baseball you get the bust, and then football you get the gold jacket. So I'm not. I hand up as a good host. I probably should have looked into that further, but I didn't. So, but it's still cool. It's still cool that the and quite an odd bunch. Quite an odd bunch. I mean, if you look at it, you have Braylon Edwards, Pudge, Cecil Fielder, and Jim Harbaugh. I guarantee you didn't have any of those names on your bingo card when we started this podcast. But there we are. There we are. That's what we do. We bring the odd to light. We bring the odd to light. And one more thing here I did want to touch on that I thought was really kind of cool. This is a tweet from Adam Schefter. Eastern Michigan University unveiled Crosby Field yesterday, named in honor of Raiders three-time Pro Bowl defensive end Max Crosby and his wife Rachel. The couple, who met at EMU and were both athletic standouts, made a $1 million donation to the athletic department last year. How cool is that? How cool is that? Little Eastern Michigan is getting Crosby Field, which I think is really, really cool. Really cool. And I mean, if you're talking about just utter dominance, I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, Max Crosby has got to be at the top, at or near the top of that list. I mean, the man is insane. The man is insane. He has that, I hate to say it, but it's kind of the cliche. When you're a white football player, you have a high motor. But this guy he is a high motor. He never takes any time off. It doesn't take plays off. I mean, literally plays with his hair on fire. So this is completely awesome. That and just to kind of think, if you are of age where you are trying to, excuse me. If you are trying to make it, you can make it from a little tiny school like Eastern Michigan. So that's really kind of cool. Really kind of cool. All right. Well, let's see what else. I think that's not all the news I had here. Let me look at my notes here. Yeah, we had Bryson DeChambeau win the had a fantastic win last weekend. You talk about just must-watch TV with him and Rory. My heart goes out to Rory. I mean, he got so much shit about just getting up and leaving, not even taking time to acknowledge the press. But put yourself in that situation. You had two putts within let's say 4 feet to win the tournament, or at least take it to a playoff hole, and you miss both of them. And he had some ridiculous stat up until that point. He had made, what was it, 493 or something consecutive putts from that distance. So kind of a meltdown. So it was hard to watch if you are a Rory fan. Excuse me, but how cool is it that Bryson won? I mean, not only did he win, Pinehurst number 2 was just playing ungodly hard, and that bunker shot from like 60 yards out and just nailed it within 5-6 feet. I think will go down as one of the more clutch golf shots in golf history to win one. So yeah, that was completely awesome. And then to have the wherewithal to stay and sign autographs and let people take pictures with him in the trophy. And I think he was on he was on Pat McAfee show, and he actually didn't leave Pinehurst until like midnight or something like that. How awesome is that? He had actually went back to that same bunker and was trying, helping someone try to recreate it. I mean, it was absolutely awesome. So kudos to Bryson. And then I did not see if he won the live event this week or this weekend, but he was in the hunt for it. So you talk about a man on a heater. And just to kind of tease a little bit here, I mean, we had two very, very big, let's save those. Bryson wins. The Celtics win number 18. What an amazing team that was or is. I have a feeling we're gonna. I mean, if you look at any of the sports books, they are the Celtics are already the odds-on favorite to win again next year. We saw Jason Tatum take a huge step, even though he did not win the MVP, which was fine. Jaylen Brown won it, and Jaylen Brown balled out the entire series. And it's one of those questions where it's kind of twofold, because where do the Mavericks go from here? And because Luka is one of the best players on the planet. Luka to me is much must-watch TV. There was much kind of hubbub with like Stephen A and a lot of those guys saying that he does need to focus on his weight management, his cardio, and obviously defense if this team is to go any farther. But he played his ass off. Let's be completely honest. Is his defense spectacular? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. However, he really didn't have a whole lot of help behind him. The series leading up to the finals, we saw Kyrie be, the Robin to his Batman. We saw Kyrie play kind of a la the Kyrie we saw when him and LeBron were winning championships, and that really didn't pan out. For whatever reason, he really just does not show up in Boston. Whether I'm not sure what that building has against him or what the crowd has against him, but that man cannot play in Boston. That needs to change going forward, because I believe he still has 3 more years on his contract with the Mavs. So the Mavs need to add pieces. And the problem with the Mavs needing to add pieces is that they're still in the Western Conference. The Eastern Conference seems to be the way easier path to the finals than the Western Conference. So it's going to be weird to see how the Mavs kind of refigure things, because with all that firepower in the West, it's going to be tough. But like I said, Luka must watch TV. So I'm really not. Am I saying that the Mavs are guaranteed to go back to back and get back? No. I think it's far more likely that the Celtics will do that rather than the Mavs. But I'm excited to see this offseason how what shakes out. We've got the draft coming up here, I believe, in a couple weeks. So it won't be long to see how these before too long how these rosters are going to take shape. So yeah, that's kind of the news, I guess you would say. So kind of a melancholy transition here. Not only did we have kind of like the title said, rest in peace Willie Mays. We also had the logo, Jerry West, pass away. So, when you're talking about legends kind of leaving us, I mean, I kind of posted it in the YouTube description. We had Bill Walton, then Jerry West, and now Willie Mays pass away. So they say these things happen in threes. So hopefully this is just kind of getting it all out of our system for a while. I believe Donald Sutherland passed away as well. So in the sports realm anyway, let's say. Yeah, it's a sad kind of couple weeks here for sports. But let's kind of put this into perspective here. All right. Actually, before we do that, I did skip past a whole bunch of stuff here. So let's kind of catch up here. In a joking manner. This is from Just Bins over on Twitter. It is pictures of the Oilers girl side by side with the hot spit on that thing girl. And it says Pride Month got absolutely robbed by these two. I just thought that was funny. I wanted to throw that in there. And as well, if you guys and gals have been following the show for any amount of time, you know that we are a huge Caitlin Clark fan base here. This is a tweet from Ashwin. Caitlin Clark fans from all over the world. It's a girl holding up a sign that says, I traveled 8,985 miles from Australia to see you play. So yes, not that no one's saying this for Angel Reese. No one's saying this for her. They're saying it for Caitlin Clark. So yeah, kind of put that into perspective. And I know it's a little bit early to be talking about fantasy football, or you could be on the complete opposite side where it's never too early to talk about fantasy football, because ESPN has put out their quarterback rankings as of right now. And these are fantasy football rankings, ladies and gentlemen. Keep that in mind, fantasy football rankings, not how, who's the best. This isn't a power ranking. This is they're predicting who will have the most fantasy points at the end of the season. They have Josh Allen number 1, Jalen Hurts number 2, Anthony Richardson number 3, Lambjack number 4, Mahomes number 5, Joe Burrow number 6, CJ Stroud number 7, Dak Prescott number 8, Jordan Love number 9, and rounding out the top 10 with Brock Purdy. If out of all the guys on this list, if I'm starting my fantasy team this year, I am taking number 7, CJ Stroud. He ended the year fantastically. They added more weapons around him. I can't wait to see what he does this season, because I think it's going to be totally, totally awesome down there in Houston. So, but it's hard to argue the other ones. I mean, you look at Mahomes, he's added more weapons. I'm actually excited to see, I'm definitely not hating on Anthony Richardson being at number 3. I just think it's a little high considering he played 4.5 games last year, 4.5 maybe. So the other two at the top, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, those guys have proven themselves. Lamar Jackson needs to stay healthy. He did last year. Joe Burrow needs to stay healthy. Dak Prescott, this is a contract year. I get that. Jordan Love, this is another prove-it year. Actually really excited to see what Jordan Love and that offense does. That Packers team is very scary, especially for a Bears fan. So, excuse me. Just some food for thought here. And here's something for, I had mentioned Bryson and his win. But this is from Tour Golf at PGA Tour, and it's spelled weird. Over on Twitter, Liv paid Bryson DeChambeau $125 million. His finishes in the majors this year: the Masters tied for 6th, PGA Championship 2nd, U.S. Open 1st. Liv paid Phil Mickelson $200 million. His finishes in the majors this year: the Masters tied for 43, PGA Championship cut, U.S. Open cut. So I think more or less what they're saying is that this was more of a, I think, to get Phil over there. He was the first one. He was the first domino to fall, the first shoe to fall, if you want to take it that way. But Bryson is definitely making more with his money than Phil is. But I honestly think that the Liv guys had no intention on Phil actually competing and or winning any of these tournaments. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, well, now that I've jumped around and probably confused the hell out of everybody, let's go back to the original thing here, talking about, this is from Peter Boat over on Twitter. Bill Walton, Jerry West, and Willie Mays in a short span, 3 gigantic losses for the sports world. And like I said, it is kind of a melancholy topic to talk about, but I do think it is worth talking about. And here's some other tweets that I wanted to share from Willie Mays here. This is a tweet from the San Francisco Giants account. It is with great sadness that we announce that San Francisco Giants legend and Hall of Famer Willie Mays passed away peacefully this afternoon at the age of 93. And one of the things that I did want to touch on before I did go any further with this is that game on, oh shit, it was the day after Mays passed away. He actually sent a letter with, I knew I should have wrote this down. Dusty Baker. He sent a letter that he wanted Dusty to read, because he knew he wasn't going to be able to make it. And this field is where he played, Satchel Paige played, all of the great Negro League players had played there. And he knew with his declining health, he was not going to be able to make it. So it was kind of it was kind of cool that it was able to be read, able to be discussed with him. Um, but still a very, very, very sad time, a very sad time. Here's another one here. This is from Bum Chillips, aka Spencer H. This is a picture of Willie Mays in Harlem, I believe, playing stickball with some of the local kids. You don't see that with professional athletes these days. Just something really, really cool that I wanted to highlight. Here's another cool photo. This is from Today in Sports. It says RIP. It is the Willie Mays basket catch, the one that went down in history, the iconic one here. And ironically enough, this one is from Jose Canseco, one of the best to ever play the game. Rest in peace, Willie Mays. And it's him jumping up against center field, almost robbing a home run. But I believe this is the first time that Jose has been on the show since maybe the first or second episode where we were talking about him going and hunting Bigfoot. So we have Jose hunting Bigfoot and Jose remembering Willie Mays. So you talk about a vast array of just a very interesting gentleman, if you want to put it that way. But one of the things here, and I don't think that I actually made, I don't think I made a slide for it because it was going to be too small. But let me find it here because I wanted to highlight this because growing up, I was the biggest, let me switch it here, the biggest Ken Griffey Jr. fan alive. I mean, he was the guy. Growing up, he was the guy wearing the backwards hat, taking BP, pissing all of the, baseball purists off because he was that guy he was the kid. He was the kid. A lot of folks thought that he was kind of entitled because his dad was in the league. But if you actually looked at it, those two played together, and I think were the last father-son duo to go back-to-back hitting home runs and play, like I said, played on the same team in Seattle. So to me, that has to be cool. But back in the day, that actually rubbed some folks the wrong way. Like I said, they thought he had some sort of level of entitlement, which is why he was, kind of, like I said, wearing the backwards hat, doing things, as a quote unquote kid, not a professional. But as Griffey went on and actually showed that, yeah, I am a badass. This is my league now. Watch me play. Those hints of entitlement kind of went away extremely quick. So that's something that is neither here nor there. But I did want to go over some of these stats compared to Willie Mays, just because I personally had no idea that these two gentlemen were this far apart in stats, because Griffey ended up with 630 home runs. Willie ended with 660. And so I just immediately thought that if they're that close in home runs, they have to be that close in just overall statistics. Not the case. Willie Mays had a wins above replacement of 156.2. Griffey's was 83.8. And that's not saying that Griffey's is horrible by any means. It's just saying that Willie Mays was that much better. Games played, Willie had 3,005, Griffey had 2,671. Plate appearances, Willie had 12,545, Griffey had 11,304. Willie had 3,293 hits. Griffey had 2,781. Like we already talked about the 660, 630 RBIs, 1909 for Mays, 1836 for Griffey. Stolen bases, 339 for Willie and 184 for Griffey. A lifetime batting average of 301 for Willie as compared to 284 for Griffey. On base percentage 384 to 370. Slugging percentage 557 for Willie, 538 for Griffey. OPS plus, we can go through that. But Willie did win a ring, whereas Griffey did not. Griffey was a 13-time All-Star. Willie was a 24-time All-Star. Willie had 2 MVPs to Griffey's 1 and had a batting title to Griffey's 0. Now, what's really cool with this is I believe, and I wish I had grabbed the stat, but Willie was one of the only people with like over 500 home runs, batted over 300, had over 300 doubles. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And to give Jim Malowich at Pot of Fame over on Twitter says, I am 34 years old, which means the best center fielder I've seen in my lifetime is Ken Griffey Jr. It is not lost on me that Willie Mays best Griffey Jr. in every statistical and award-based category below. So yeah, that was quite the difference for sure. And I have lost my mouse. All right, see here. Hold on. Please hold. Let me close this. See if this will disconnect it. There we go. All right, we found it. We're back in business. So yeah, that just goes to show you how good Willie Mays was. And this is something that I wish my my cohorts were here for, because there wasn't a question when Mays was alive who was the best living baseball player, which was Willie Mays. But now it opens the question: who is the greatest living baseball player now? And it's a discussion I think that's, we as sports fans, we all gravitate towards this GOAT conversation. Who's the GOAT? Who's the greatest of all time? And I'm not talking about who's the greatest center fielder of all time. I'm talking about who's the greatest living baseball player now. And just to kind of give you some of the ones that popped into my mind right away is obviously Griffey, just because I'm very Griffey, bias. I'll be the first to admit it. But you kind of have to throw Pujols in there as well. I mean, Pujols had a 10 or 11 year span that has never been matched. If we had seen if Mike Trout's body had not shown the decline that it has, I think maybe we could throw him in there. But as it stands right now, to me, at least the players I watched, those are the two for me. One other big shout out I did want to give before we go too far into this. I'm watching the Mets and Cubs over on ESPN, and they unveiled the statue for Ryne Sandberg. And I was talking to my wife, and she's like, "Well, who is this Ryne Sandberg guy?" And I was like, "Well, at the time, he was one of the best second basemen in baseball, and excuse me, especially here in the Midwest. I guarantee there's some folks about 10 or 15 years younger than me that are walking around named Ryne, Ryne. They were named after him, especially, like I said, in the Midwest. So do I have any other Willie Mays stats here? I do. Here's the one I was talking about. This is from Baseball History Nut. Willie Mays is the only player in MLB history to have a 300 batting average, 300 stolen bases, 300 home runs, and 3,000 hits. And he's sitting there in the locker room looking absolutely jacked. I mean, the man was a physical specimen. So that is complete. I mean, like I said, I know, and it might sound, and I'm not trying to sound heartless here, but the man was 93. So it's not like he, when it was in his late 50s and, wadded his bike up at Bike Week, and it was a sudden thing. But it is always sad to talk about, especially, I would say I'm 43, so rewind or fast forward maybe 20 years where my parents or people of that age grew up watching baseball, and that was their guy. The Say Hey Kid, that was their guy. And I'm sure, especially out on the West Coast, and even when he got traded back to the Mets, you know, that he was the draw. He was the shit. He was the man. It was his league. And, you know, even though we do commemorate Jackie Robinson as the, you know, kind of breaking the color barrier, Willie Mays was right there too. So that's something as a baseball community, and just in a world in general, that we cannot forget about that. So not only did he transcend, you know, things on the field, he also transcended things off the field. So how awesome is that? How awesome is that? And you never hear anyone have a bad bad story about Willie Mays. Everyone that's ever met him has said, you know, he was always the nicest person, was always very just kind as a person. So the world lost a good one. The world lost a good one. All right, enough of this. I keep using the word melancholy, but I guess maybe we can transition to some other bad news, because let's see here. All right, hold on. Let's talk about some injuries going around Major League Baseball. A couple weeks ago, we saw Juan Soto get pulled out. Granted, it said it was, you know, the Yankee press said it was a preventative thing with a tender forearm, and you know, I get that, especially in a rain delay. I thought everyone kind of did blow that out of proportion, but you know, we've seen Judge get hit in the finger. We've seen Mookie get hit. You know, we saw Rizzo collide at first base. So we've kind of seen some of these major stars here start to get dinged up, you know, X amount of games into the season. Now, if you were with us the last time, excuse me, we were live, we talked about some of the major guys that could be on the move. And in particular, I want to highlight, you know, folks like Jazz Chisholm and Bo Bichette, you know, especially with that Dodger, you know, with Mookie Betts. I completely understand that the Dodgers probably have one of the deepest, if not the deepest, farm system in baseball, but it would be kind of a Dodger thing to do, to go out and get one of these guys. And would, especially in, let me see here, I do have the standings up here, and Dodgers have an 8.5 game lead on the Padres. However, the Padres seem to be surging here. And by surging, I mean either they're hitting the cover off of the ball or they're not hitting at all. So would it surprise me to, I mean, this is the same Dodger organization when Corey Seager went down, went out and traded for Manny Machado, and then consequently moved him from shortstop to third. You know, once everything, you know, kind of settled down, I guess you could say. But could this be, you know, could either one of those guys be an upgrade as compared to what they have in the farm system? Who knows? But I think it makes the, I definitely think it makes the conversation more relevant. I think it brings a little bit more value to these guys, because there is, you know, a need. There is a suitor out there for a guy like Bo Bichette or a guy like Jazz Chisholm. And then if you look at the you know, the Anthony Rizzo part of this, I mean, we talked about Vladimir Guerrero, we talked about Vladdy, we talked about Pete Alonso. You know, these are some guys that could garner some attention now that these stars are going down. And whereas if you would have asked, you know, like we talked about, like 2Ks and I talked about 2 weeks ago, it's like, is there even going to be a market for these guys? And I think the question is yes, there is a market now, especially with these injuries. So it wouldn't shock me if I'm not saying either of these guys are moved, but like I said, it does garner some attention. It does garner some attention, and rightfully so. And that's not to say, because I believe the trade deadline is in like 40 days. Are there going to be other injuries? Absolutely. It's baseball. It happens. So with this list, I mean, you even look at who is the other one? Whoops, shit. Please hold. Please hold. Yeah, those are like the top guys right now. So Mookie, with Mookie, thankfully it was not does not need surgery. They said it could heal on its own. So that's, if you're a Dodger fan, is huge. But how long is that timetable? Is that 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks? Now we're looking at, the end of August, beginning of September. Is there, you got to get that ramp up time back. You got to get your timing back. So now we're at the end of August, end of September. And that's when the playoffs start. So are any of these guys worth going out and getting that quote unquote insurance policy for? I guess it's just going to depend on the asking price. But and to be honest with you, if you're the Yankees, I know you're paying Rizzo a lot of money, but Rizzo has been absolutely garbage this year. And we're seeing Pete Alonso come alive. And now, granted, the power numbers with Vladdy are not where it was his MVP season, but he's hitting, if not 300, over 300, and that would be a drastic change to that Yankees lineup. Now, as a Red Sox fan, I'm hoping they stand pat. But one of the cool things I do see happening with the Yankees is there's that little spark right now. When the Yankees are relevant, when the Yankees are on top of the American League East, or if they're right there with someone at number 2, they always try to start fights. And it's like clockwork. And now, yes, they threw at Gunnar Henderson earlier this week, and Gunnar kind of took it like a pro, which I thought was awesome. And if you look at that race right now, the Yankees only have a 1.5 game lead in the American League East, and to the Orioles. And the Yankees have a 109 run differential, and the Orioles have a 111. What's kind of the interesting part of that is when the trade deadline comes, how active are each one of these teams? What has me excited is we talked about it 2 weeks ago. The Orioles have a new ownership group, whereas in previous years, they make little additions here. They fill little holes, maybe in the bullpen, or maybe, a utility guy, lengthen the bench, if you will. But now with this new ownership group, we have no idea what they're going to do. Add on top of that, they have the best farm system in baseball, by far. I know I was sucking off the Dodgers farm system, but we've seen some of these guys in the Orioles farm system. And yes, Jackson Holliday did not go the way that everyone thought, which is fine. The man is 20 years old, can't even go out to the bar after the game. And I think he's going to be fine. And I also, if I'm the brass in the Orioles organization, he is off limits. He is completely off limits. Everyone else, we shall see. I want to see who's available, because like we talked about 2 weeks ago, there are so many teams in the wild card race that it's going to be extremely, extremely hard to pull some of these guys. Let's see here. The Red Sox have the last. The Red Sox have overtaken the Royals for the last wild card spot in the American League, and it's starting. You can kind of see where these teams are kind of distancing themselves. Astros are a half game back of the Red Sox, and then the Astros and Rays are 4, Rangers 4.5, Tigers 5.5, Jays 6.5. Then we don't need to talk about the rest. And in the National League, it's a whole lot closer. Whole lot closer in the National League. The Padres have the last wild card spot here, with the Nats a half game back, Diamondbacks 1 game back, Pirates, Cubs, Mets 1.5 games back, Reds 2.5 games back, Giants 3 back, and then you're left with the Marlins, who are 11.5, and the Rockies with 12. So I'm not so sure who the Rockies are going to offload, because that team is horrible. Absolutely horrible. At least the Marlins have a couple of pieces that do look kind of interesting. We talked about 2 weeks ago, the White Sox are actively trying to shop Luis Robert. So who knows where that's going to end up, or that he's not a that, he's a he. But Lord knows where he's going to end up. And on top of that, what type of package is it going to take to get him? Because we saw with Dylan Cease, he was kind of the belle of the ball last year at the trade deadline, and didn't end up getting moved until this offseason. So just because the package needed was that big, and the Padres were like, "Yep, here you go, and the Padres have slotted him in, and he's been their ace so far. And let's take a peek here to kind of give you the gaps with the. I already said the Yankees have a 1.5 game lead over the Orioles. The Guardians have a 7.5 game lead over the Twins. Mariners have a 6 game lead over the Astros. The team in that division right now that if I'm putting money on, I'm not saying to overtake the Mariners, but to give them a run for their money, is the reigning World Series champion Texas Rangers. They are getting healthy. This team last year, scary offense. With getting everyone back, I think that it's 6.5 is not too far to overcome. But we see the Phillies have the Phillies are the best team in baseball right now. Hands down, best team in baseball. They have a 7 game lead over the Braves. However, I mean, they have a 7 game lead over the Braves, and the Braves are 8-2 over their last 10. They did win today. I don't know if this stat, if this stat does reflect that, but the Phillies are 5-5. So this was could have been double digits. The Brewers have a 5 game lead over the Cardinals. I don't see the Pirates being huge sellers here, but you never know with that ownership group. I mean, you would think that you would want to build around Jones and Skeens and O'Neill, or O'Neill Cruz, I should say, that young crew, Brian Hayes, Reynolds. They have the dudes to do it. They just need a little bit more help. The Cubs, I have no idea what the hell's happened to the Cubs. The Cubs are down 4-0 to the Mets right now. I could see the Cubs, Cody Bellinger's up to bat right now. He could be a very viable trade piece. Not sure who would want him, but we might see a whole different looking Cubs here in the next month. And the Dodgers have an 8.5 game lead over the Padres. So we are seeing the good teams separate. But like I said, when it comes to the wild card, that National League wild card is just nasty. So I don't know. Let's see. Like I said, the Padres have the last spot. The Nats are very young, very, very young and upcoming. I don't see them being sellers. Diamondbacks, the first one on this list would be the Cubs. The Reds, Giants are very disappointing. They made some pretty big splashes in the offseason. So and I would actually foresee a lot of, maybe not a lot, but we've definitely seen traditionally the couple days leading up to the trade deadline kind of be insane, kind of be that just, we're totally tapped into, Buster only. We're totally into Jet Pass and, who's going where, what are they giving up, who's moving who, where are they going? This could actually, the trade deadline itself might be a little more mundane. And I think a lot of these teams might actually try to overpay and get some of these guys in early as opposed to the trade deadline, because let's be honest, if you are a team like the Orioles and you want a Mason Miller from the A's, or if you want a Luis Robert, why not overpay a little bit now, like today? Well, not today, but probably tomorrow, and you would have him for a whole extra month instead of trying to make that run with. You could make the run a month longer. So to me, that makes a little bit more sense than trying to jam it into a smaller package. But how much more is it going to take to get these guys away from these teams? That's the key, because, well, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe not, because if you think about it, if you're proactive and you try to do these trades now, as compared to, the week of the trade deadline, now you're competing against other suitors, which may drive up the cost even more. So that maybe my theory is completely asinine. Maybe now is the time. Maybe, strike while the iron's hot, I guess. But I for one like the idea of doing it now as compared to waiting. Yet there's going to be more teams waiting to give up those prospects, don't get me wrong, or those players, but I would be knocking on the doors, I would be making some phone calls, I would be texting, I would be emailing, I would be doing whatever I can if I'm a GM to fill my spots now, sooner rather than later. Just my thought, but you know what? I'm not a GM. I'm just a dude in a basement talking about baseball. So who knows? But to me, it makes sense. To me, it makes sense. But yeah, I like I said, it's been a huge week for sports. It's been a sad week for sports. But you know what? One of the good things about players passing like this is they get to be back in the limelight where they once were. We can remember them for what they were, not as how they are. Especially if they were, if God forbid, if they were sick and we were seeing photos of them in their deteriorated state. We get to remember them when they were at their height. We remember them, as we did when we were kids. We remember where we were when we saw them play. We remember, or like in my case, I can remember when my dad telling me stories about these players when they were larger than life. So it gives us a chance to remember that they were once these amazing, amazing players that did things that only they could do. And will the world be lost without them? Absolutely. Absolutely. But the cool part is we have video. We have, we have stories. We have spoken words to where these gentlemen will live forever. And in the case of, the logo, he is the logo. He is the logo. And I know there was some talk of changing the NBA logo, but you can be damn sure that logo's not changing now. That logo's not changing now. And if it does, you're going to have a lot of pissed off people. So, Jerry West will be remembered for not only being an amazing player. I believe he was a 3-time All-American in college. Won rings as a player, a coach, and a GM, I think. But we get to remember the good times. We get to, we talked about some of the stories with Bill Walton. The man was an absolute legend. Did I enjoy his banter and calling games? Absolutely not. To me, he was one of the worst announcers ever. But if I could sit around a campfire and drink a beer with the man, I would absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And to me, that's awesome. To me, that's awesome. It on one hand, it sucks because we don't really do these things until they pass, and but we should do it more often when they're alive. You know, I've often talked about, you know, and not even comparing my life and my, you know, accomplishments to what they've done or did, but I've always wanted to do a Ryan Turbo Jackson Memorial golf outing while I'm alive, so that A, I can kind of dictate where the money goes, and B, I can actually enjoy it. Call me weird. Call me weird, but that's something I've always wanted to do, and I have a feeling that sooner rather than later that will happen. There will be a Ryan Turbo Jackson Memorial golf outing while I'm here. Like I said, so I can enjoy it. You know, it kind of stinks that we do things in memorial of people where they would have enjoyed it. Like I said, maybe I'm weird. I don't know. Which I know I am weird, but you know what? I have a feeling that that would be something that not only could you establish when you're alive, but you can also pass that down, and it could be. I think it would enrich the whole experience. Just my 2 cents. Just my 2 cents. Well, everyone that has been with me over on TikTok, over on Twitter, over on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, thank you for joining me. Thank you for spending some time on your busy Sunday. I will see you next week, same bat time, same bat channel, and as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.